Hey everybody, today I'm going to be installing this dash cam setup into my new M2. Now this dash cam setup is going to be a Thinkware U1000 dash cam, both front and rear, so dual channel, and I have this Blackvue battery power source for the camera. If you're not necessarily using these exact same components, you can still learn a lot about how to route the wires and how to hardwire things. Since I am using a battery power source, I will be hardwiring this to the fuse box. And the benefits that offers is the battery power source only charges off of the car when the car is on. So you can always ensure that you have enough battery to start up, and you won't get any warnings on your iDrive system or whatever else saying, hey, I have high battery discharge while the car is off. So that's why I really like those. And this one's Blackvue, but kind of no matter what brand you get, there's Blackvue, there's CellLink, Thinkware has their own branded one. And now Blackbox My Car also has their own brand one. They're like kind of all made by CellLink, so they're all pretty similar. Some of the capacities may differ a little bit. In terms of the dash cam, I chose the U1000 because I liked how it could offer 4K resolution in the front, 2K in the rear, and also if I wanted to dial down the front resolution from 4K down to 2K, I could also record at 60 FPS, so that will make the footage a little bit smoother and can capture more frames, so can see things a little bit better if I needed to in slow motion. One thing I will say about Thinkware's dash cams, the hardwire kit that they include is too short if you have a BMW. In BMWs, our fuse boxes are in the rear, so that means we got to wire this all the way from the front all the way back there, and this guy is only about like 10 feet. But Thinkware and others, they sell a extension cable, which you would then have to solder. So I've already done that here. You can see where these three little loose wires are, I've soldered it to the extension cable. And a lot of retailers, they don't advertise this on their site, and I honestly don't know why, because it's not like BMWs are uncommon. But the retailers will, like Blackbox My Car does, they will sell you a pre-lengthened, so they'll do the lengthening themselves and then sell it to you as a complete wire, so you don't have to do any of that yourself. But anyways, if you have a BMW, make sure you ask about this, or make sure to get that extension cable wire and do that. And I'll put some links in the video description below, or some part numbers, so that you guys know what to look for. But anyways, that's just one thing to think about. 10 feet is not going to cut it if you have a BMW or any other car that or any other dash cam hardwire kit that you're getting for your BMW. Okay, so I'm in the car right now, and your first intuition might be like, hey, let's start, putting the mount up there and wiring things up. But really, the first thing you want to do is just power the camera on, test it, and figure out where you're going to place it. So you can see here I have the camera just sitting on my dash. I have the cigarette lighter power adapter hooked into it. I've got the cigarette lighter power adapter there, because I want to set the camera up so that I can figure out where to place it, and then after I've done that, then we can go ahead and run the wires. And you could hear there the camera talking a little bit. Thinkwares are kind of known for talking a little bit too much, so we'll see on this U1000 if we can change that. So let's start with connecting to the camera, and to do that you're going to need to download Thinkware's Dashcam viewer app on your phone. And once you open that up, this is the main screen you'll see. So I'm going to try and connect to a dash cam U1000, and I want to connect via Wi-Fi. Okay. Now it says go ahead and press the Wi-Fi button on the dash cam. So go to the camera, hit the Wi-Fi button.
On your smartphone, connect to a Wi-Fi network whose name starts with Thinkware.
We hear it talk. And we'll go ahead and bring the phone back, hit next, and turn to Wi-Fi, and we need to connect to Thinkware, so here we go. Now we have to enter the password, which is just 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9, so 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. We'll connect, and there we are. Now we are connected. We'll keep this Wi-Fi connection, and then we can go back to the app.
Connected to a smartphone.
Okay, so now we are in the main body of the app, and we can go to live view and look at the dash cam settings, etc. But we're doing this so we can see where we want to place the dash cam. So let's go ahead and hit live view. And well, the dash cam's in my seat, so now you're looking at my seat, but this will give you an idea of where to place your dash cam. So now we can go ahead and take the dash cam and put it up, where you think you might want it, and you can use your phone screen to kind of see what the camera would see. So I personally like to place my dash cam as high up as possible so it gets the best view over the nose of the car, but I don't know, with this guy that may not be possible. And then once you have figured out where you want to place this, if you want to place it here, other side, up here and whatnot, then just remember where it is, because we're going to install the mount for the camera next. And on this particular camera, this front lens you can swivel. So you can swivel this up depending on how steep your windshield is, or you can set it all the way down. So one of the other things I'm going to do when I'm placing this camera is I'm going to attach these wires on the side, and for the mount, you can see I'm not sliding it to lock. So I can put it on, and then normally this thing would slide over to lock. But since I typically like to place this on the right or passenger side of the car, I'm going to leave this unlocked position because I want to make sure there's enough standoff between these cables, where the mount is, and this center piece of my mirror assembly. And so that way, I won't put it so close that, I won't be able to actually lock this thing to the car. So just something to think about. And then once I have that location, then we can go ahead and just peel off this red backer, the 3M tape, and stick it up here. Now, one of the things I really don't like about this mount is it says, Thinkware in white lettering here, and that just makes it stand out more. I mean, the whole point of, having dash cams is to be kind of covert as possible. So having some white lettering that sticks out kind of defeats that purpose. Granted, sure, the camera is here itself, but, we want to reduce forward signature as much as possible. And the previous Thinkware maps, they didn't have that. Okay, now that we've got the mount placed where we want it, it's time to finally start installing the camera and the wires. So here you can see I have the camera, I've got the wire going to the rear camera, and then I've also got the power connector. And this is not the cigarette lighter power connector, this is the actual hardwire I'm going to run to the back of the car. And the way I'm going to kind of do this is I'm going to route this rear camera wire on top of the power wire. And the reason why is, well, when it's installed in the car like this, what am I going to be disconnecting? Am I ever really going to be disconnecting the rear camera wire? Not really, but there could be a point where I may want to disconnect the power only. So that's why I'm going to just route this one over there. So with these guys like so, I'm going to just drape these wires over the mirror assembly to start, and then I can start by getting the camera onto its mount and lock that into place. Now with the camera on its mount, I can go ahead and start feeding these wires in. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be just kind of stuffing them in between the gaps between this plastic housing piece and the windshield, and then up along the top of the headliner here. And it may help to have a tool like this, a little pry or trim tool to kind of help you stuff it. So I'm going to put that wire up there, just kind of poke it in. You can see that stuff there pretty easily. Then I can just go here along the top and run it into the headliner all the way across. Okay, when we get to the end of the headliner over here where the A-pillar is, we're actually going to follow this seam right here. So we can go ahead and just take that wire, kind of stuff it in there. Once again, you can use a tool to kind of help you. And we're just going to route it all the way till it goes towards the exterior of the door over here. Now, when you come to the edge, there's this little rubber trim, and this thing you can actually just pull right off of the car if you want to make it easier. So you can see here I'm just grabbing it and I'm just pulling this rubber trim off of the car. There's a metal seam here that this trim goes on, and so we're just going to route the wires down along that seam underneath this rubber trim. So here's another view of that trim. You can see that it just simply pulls off very easily. So now we can just keep routing these wires through that weather strip lining all the way down to the floor. And once we get there, then we have this plastic trim piece going the whole length of the door, and even if you've got shorter doors like a 4-door, you'll still have this trim piece there. And so what we need to do next is we need to remove that trim piece. And well, how do you do that? Well, you know, you can use a pry tool, but really you can kind of just get your hands in there, grab underneath, and give it a tug up. And what holds this trim piece in? Well, all these little white clips at the bottom, and I've pulled one out here. You will need to pull these out. So use another, you know, forked trim tool type pry tool thing to pop these guys up. You can see it's just a little kind of rivet expanding head thing there. But the way that this trim piece gets held is you have these slots on the white part, and then they slide onto the little rails on the trim piece. So when we're ready to install this, you need to pop those out, slide all of these onto their individual rails on the trim piece, and then you can go ahead and press and pop this part back in. Okay, when we've run the wiring down and we come to the end of this plastic piece here, kind of like this, you know, side kick panel for the front passenger side, we're going to pull the carpet back a little bit, and then we're going to stuff the wiring down to the bottom of the car. And if you pull the carpet back and you look down there, there's actually a wiring harness down there that BMW runs from the front of the car going to the back. So we're just going to follow on top of that wiring harness and put this cable back there going along the side of the seats. When we've taken the wiring and we've gone all along the bottom of the door and we come to the rear seats, well, now we need to remove this rear bench. And to do that, you literally just grab by the base and tug up. So you do that on both sides, and then this thing will just pull out. You may need to feed the belt buckle receptacles through it, but the whole bottom bench just slides out. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove this side bolster here. And behind this area, there's a clip that pops into the sheet metal of the body. So, you know, you can just kind of grab around either side and then give it a good tug, and it'll come right out. And here's that black clip I was talking about that goes into the body. Okay, so now you know, you can see where we've got the wires coming up here, and we'll just continue to feed that underneath this trim panel. And you can just use your fingers to stuff it here, or you can, you know, use a trim tool like we were using before, and that'll make the wires come out of here. So once we're at this point here where we've got the wires coming over here, and you know, you kind of buy these two boxes where a bunch of other BMW wires are routed, we want to take the wire assembly we're routing and put it behind the seat belt, because we're going to be wiring along the body here to get into the trunk. And if we fold the seat down over here, you can actually see, you know, we're going to go behind this liner under it to get over into that trunk. And speaking of the trunk, probably a good time to take out the trunk liner now so you can actually see the fuse box. So now you can see that I am just taking the wires, putting them behind this little liner here so that we can get into the fuse box area. Okay, so we have the power cable going along here, going to the trunk, but the rear camera cable, well, we're going to want to route that up, going up the side, so that we can get into like the headliner roof area. And there's already these housings here for keeping the cables tidy, and well, why don't we just use those for this guy as well? So I'm going to use a flathead screwdriver here and just expand it a little bit so I can pull the clip out for this guy. Do the same up top and for these two as well. And what I've done is I've routed this cable all the way towards the inside or the outside wall of the car, because we are going to be feeding this wire all the way up the side. And then once that's done, then I'll go ahead and just resecure these clips. Okay, now you can see I've kind of got this wire running all the way up here, and we're just going to leave it, you know, tucked in behind here, because this, if you remember, that side bolster that goes there is going to cover this all up. And then we're going to wedge the wire in between this plastic part and the wall over here. Once again, we're going to get to this trim, and then we're just going to stuff it along this trim up in here so that eventually we can feed it around here. So really, we just need to feed it around here just till it gets behind this black plastic part, and then the wire will be pulled over towards you know, kind of the corner over here, and then, you know, we're going to follow this path going up to the headliner. So right next to, or where this black plastic part where the seatbelt comes out of, touches the wall here, or the door card, or wall card, I guess. There's a little plastic nub that slots in from this black plastic piece to the wall card. So when we push in on it, we're going to be popping that out, and then we want to slide the wire behind it, and then so afterwards, you know, you can get your hand back here to try and push the card back onto this black plastic piece. Alright, so now you see we've snaked it through here, put it over here, and then pulled it behind this plastic piece up to here, and then now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stuff it along here till we get to the headliner. Okay, so now we're going to do just like we did with the front windshield, and we're just going to take our fingers and stuff this cable up into the headliner as we work our way across. And there's a lot of room in the headliner up here, so if you have a bunch of extra cable that you know you're going to have, now might be a good time to bundle it up and actually just kind of stuff that in the headliner here, and then only take a tail of as much as you need to run to the center of the car where you're going to be placing the camera. Now it's time to place the rear camera, and you can see I've already plugged it in to the wire I've run here, just so that I can, you know, make sure I get this appropriate and I pull the right amount of wire out. And you know, since this camera does have the lens offset, well, I'm going to put the mount on the windshield offset so that my lens is right in the middle. Okay, now we're in the trunk area, looking at, you know, some storage space, and then also the fuse box. But one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up this connector so that we can route wires from, you know, one compartment to the next. And there's these 3 little clips here, and you can just use a flathead screwdriver, pry out on the housing so that the head of the clip can clear it, and then just pull up. So if we do that, we can see that there's a nice free channel actually, so that we can route the wire coming from the camera to the battery pack, which I'm going to place in the storage area here. And also, you know, when we route the wires going from the battery pack down here, going to the fuse box. Now, BMW supplied my car with this Fix-A-Flat kit, and it's secured with this Velcro strap and this expanding rivet up here. So, you know, you can use a fork tool to pop that rivet center off, pull the Velcro strap out, and this actually makes a pretty decent compartment or holder for the battery. So if I take out the pump that they include, you can see I could just place the Blackvue battery here, you know, and be able to strap it down and still have access to all the connections. So I think that's actually what I'm going to do. And then this guy, maybe I'll find some other way to secure it here, or I just won't use it at all because, well, quite frankly, I probably won't. So then next what we'll do is, if you have one of these battery units, you'll find the hardwire cable, and this is going to plug into the part that says DC in. Then we're going to run the other end of the cable over to the fuse box over here. And if you look at this cable, it has a wire, well, it has a little grounding lug, and then the other one says ACC, because we're going to attach this to one of the fuses that only turns on when the ignition is on. And that's what will keep the battery only charging when the car is on. And how do we find that out? Well, if you look at our fuse box over here, there's this little piece of paper that BMW includes, and this is a map that tells you the location of all the fuses, and on the back it tells you what different systems they're connected to. So, you do have to do a little bit of guessing to figure out which ones might be an accessory, which ones might be engine on only, and which ones are on all the time, but you can do so. In addition to that paper showing you the map of the fuses, there's also this little red tool here, and this is the one from my other car, but this red tool is what you use to pluck out the fuses. So since I've done this before in my other car, I already had a template and I know what fuse to use. And the way I chose it on the other car is I looked at here on the map, which is engine, and I saw these are the different numbered fuses that go to the engine, or that are on when the engine's on. And then this table up here tells you what number fuse they are and what amperage rating they are. So in my other car, I picked fuse number 145, which is a 15 amp fuse, and I wanted to use a larger current rated fuse because this battery is going to be drawing current, so I don't necessarily want to use something that's rated low current. And then next, if I look on this rear fuse box map, I can see where 145 is over on the left, and then I can look in the fuse box and see that it is this blue 15 amp fuse right there. So we know what fuse we're going to use. Now we need to get ready the add a fuse, and these will probably come with your battery pack. If not, you have to buy one, and you have to buy it for the appropriate size. So like the fuse we were looking at was a small mini fuse, but you know, you can see over on the fuse box, you know, there are obviously some larger fuses as well. So you know, if you have a larger fuse you want to tap into, you'll have to get a larger add a fuse. But this is the one I'm going to be using, a mini. And on the hard wire coming from the battery pack to there, we have this ground lug and we have this end terminal, or just this, you know, bare wire. And what we'll do is we'll slide that into the add a fuse, and then we'll take a pair of pliers and we'll clamp or crimp this down onto that wire. So now we can go ahead and take our tool, put it over the fuse we want to pull, which is that 15, just pluck it out. And now that we've got our old fuse out, we need to make sure we have another fuse, and then we can take the one that we took out and plug it in to the add a fuse. So you can see that a fuse needs to have 2 fuses. Then we can go back to the fuse box and the receptacle and go ahead and plug in the add a fuse where we took out the old one. Next, let's come down to this 10mm nut over here and undo that, and then this is where we're going to secure the other end of the hard wire that has the grounding screw, or grounding lug rather. So we'll go ahead and put that lug over there, and then we can re-secure this little 10mm nut, and it just needs to be hand tight snug. Then we can go ahead and route the hard wire line over here to this housing that we decided to put the power cable going from the camera into. And I'm just trying to get these nice and neatly into the channels that I want them in. And once they're all in, then we can go ahead and just secure the clip so that we can keep these in their slot. Now I'm going to connect everything to the Blackvue battery itself. So I'll take the wire coming from the camera itself and I'll plug that into the receptacle that says Dashcam. And then I'll take the hard wire from the fuse box and put that in DC in. And these kind of stick up, so I'm actually going to rotate this 90 degrees so the cables come out the side here, and we can still put the floor cover on. Then I can go ahead and take these Velcro straps and re-secure everything. And once again, if your car doesn't have this, no big deal. You know, you can figure out how to mount this. It's not particularly difficult. But I'm just using the BMW provided stuff, so I'm going to secure that. And then I will re-secure this strap over here. Now that everything is hooked up, I can go ahead and turn the battery on. I'm going to flip it to hardwire since that's the method I did. And we'll see it, you know, make some noise and there's some lights come up saying, yeah, it's ready. Now that we have everything hooked up in the trunk, you know, fuses hooked up to the battery and the camera is hooked up to the battery, well, we can go ahead and just close it all up. Okay, now we're going to put this bolster back, and if you recall, looking at the bottom of this guy, there are these little like wire, studs, and this one in particular is going to slot into a slot over here, the side of where the seat mounts. Interestingly enough, the bottom one in this car for the M2 doesn't go into anything, but on other vehicles there is a slot kind of lower down here that it will go into. And then up top we have that black clip which goes into a hole on the body right here. So we will make sure we get that lower stud in its slot. Give it a little tug, make sure it's in there. Then we can see how the bolster just kind of fits in here into place. And then tuck the top of it beneath this plastic part. And then once that's all into place, then you should be able to just give this a nice smack to get that clip into its hole. Now I'm going to film putting the bench back in, but before I do, take note of where these clips are, because that is what the seat plugs into. And on the M2 you've got that one in the center, and you've got two on each, two on the side, so one on each side, right where the edge of the bench meets kind of the wall. Alright, so I am kind of sliding the bench in now, and I'm also reaching under to grab the seat belt receptacles, because, well, you kind of need those if you have anyone in the back. So make sure to get those and feed it through the holes in the bench. And then once the belt receptacles are through, we can go ahead and push the bench all the way in. And then remember, we saw where those clips are, so we're just going to take our hand right over those, push down until we hear them snap. So now let's finish removing the rest of these white clips so we can pop them into the trim piece. And you know, I've removed this weather stripping a lot. You don't need to do it this much. I just did it so that we'd have a more clear view of this guy. And these can be removed by just taking a forked trim tool, getting under it, and simply prying it out. Then we're going to make sure all of the weather stripping is back into place and firmly on the groove. Then we can place this lower trim piece back on. You may want to like wiggle it side to side, back and forth a little bit to make sure all of the individual clips index to their holes. And then you can just push down where each of the clips is so you hear it snap into place. Okay, now that we've got the interior back together, that's it. You're done with the install. You can see, the camera and what it looks like here. You can see it from the outside, but I guess in this location, it's not like, blatantly obvious. So that's a good thing. And yeah, I'll be running this and see how I like this compared to the predecessor, the F800 series.